Sun 969, good morning. We're going to get into part 2 of our morning ramble.
And this is on Listen to Sun 969.
That's right. Our exclusive ramble to the YouTube page. On air, you're all like, let's leave a cliffhanger, but you put me on the spot. I had no cliffhanger.
I think we need to do one from next week. We'll bring back the cliffhanger.
We'll see. I don't know.
Because it means more people will come to this spot and listen to this amazing exclusive content.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've got to get people to listen to it somehow.
I struggle to talk myself up. So when you say, like, listen to our amazing content, it makes me kind of cringy.
Well, we're professionals. We've been doing it a while.
I might be professional, but I still get a little bit cringy.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
It's really not.
No.
I know so many people have said to me in the past, like obviously joking because they do know it's more than that, but they're like, "Oh, your job must be so good. Like you just get to talk and like that's it. Like that's the extent of what I do." And I'm like, I challenge you to set a timer on your phone and talk for 2 minutes straight and don't say or.
Now you're going to make me say those words.
I know.
I do say them sometimes.
Sometimes we do, but a lot less than normal conversation.
Yeah. Well, you just got to think about what you're saying, don't you?
That's
the key. Look, they say that people spend 30 years becoming an overnight success. I think that's the key.
30 years becoming an overnight success.
That's the old saying. Like if someone's become a sporting hero or whatever, they've spent all this time learning how, training.
Oh, yeah,
and all
experience, training.
All that sort of stuff. So for me now, while it feels easier to do this because I've been doing it for so long, and I think you might be in the same situation as me. It feels easy to do. It's not something that was easy when we started, and it's something we've built up like muscle memory.
My favourite analogy on this, I've always used when I'm training people. So I've trained a lot of announcers that have come through the station over the years.
Young ones.
Yep, to use the panel and things like that. And I always say to them, it's really daunting. And I'll be like, do you drive an automatic or a manual? And I'll be like, because I had a manual license, but I had an automatic car. So I didn't drive manual for many, many years.
Right.
And then when I was much older, I got a manual car. And I was like, well, technically, legally, I can drive one, but I haven't actually driven one in so long. Mr. Laws is like, come on, I'll give you some lessons. I won't ever, side note, do that again. Getting your partner to teach you something
Mr.
like
Laws,
driving is not...
Terrible teacher.
He's not a terrible teacher. I think maybe I'm a terrible listener. But anyway, let's not get into that. But I would say to them, when you start driving a manual car, it's so overwhelming. You're like, oh, you've got 3 pedals. You're trying to watch how fast you're going and you're trying to check the mirrors, but then you've got to change gears, but then you've got to have 2 hands on the wheel. How do you have 2 hands on the wheel when you change? Like, it's so overwhelming. And then all of a sudden one day you're driving around realising you haven't thought about any of those things. It's just coming naturally.
Yeah.
And that is what it's like learning the panel. At the beginning you're like, oh, how loud am I talking? I've got to look at that level. I've got to look at that level. I've got to move that down. I've got to turn that button on. But eventually one day you're just doing it and you're not freaking out and you're like, oh, it becomes muscle memory.
It really does, especially more modern panels. This one here is a bit of a dinosaur.
Yes, it is.
So the one that
I love
the ones
though.
I've come from, I spend a lot of time at sports stations and big talk stations in Melbourne, and those ones become very much automatic to you. Like in the end, you don't even look at the buttons; you just know which ones to turn on the mics, and this one's for the ads, this one's for the feed, this one, feed from the the other studio or whatever.
Yeah.
You just know what to put on at the right times.
Which buttons are for which computer screen.
You probably hit the right buttons 99 times out of 100, and sometimes that one time in 100 can cause you big trouble. Sometimes it's not noticeable. In fact, most listeners won't notice when you've made a little error. Little error might be that you've hit it just a second too late or a second too early. But yeah, it becomes really natural to you. It is like driving a car. I got my manual license first, and I had a manual car when I started, and it took me ages to learn, a long time to learn. And once I got it, though, you're right. It's just I could hop into a manual right now and have no problem with it whatsoever. I have been in a manual. When was I last in manual? Like in the last year or two, I did drive a manual briefly, and clutch in, off it goes. Actually, it was testing. I was in Darwin about 18 months ago. A friend of mine was testing some cars, and she couldn't drive anyway. She was from overseas, and I was helping her learn to drive automatic. And I got into a manual to try this manual. I thought, there's no way she's going to be able to drive this. But I liked it. It was okay. It was a manual car at one of the car yards up in Darwin. There's a pile of car yards up there. But I tell you, for me, I was thinking, will I remember it? I hadn't driven one for probably 5-10 years, something like that. Popped in, no problem whatsoever.
I think
you never forget it.
I think the reason I struggled, so I learned to drive manual when I was getting my license because mum and dad were like, it's a skill you need to like.
It's a skill.
And also, and I do believe this to be true, manuals feel so different when you're driving. You become more in tune with the vehicle and how
do,
it feels.
Yeah.
So it is good to know that. Even if you don't go for your manual license, at least when you're learning to drive, have some lessons in a manual, like learn how to do it.
Sure.
So I did that. I had my manual license, but the car that I got when I turned 18, because in Melbourne you're 18 when you get your Ps, the car that I got was an automatic. And so that was great. Loved my auto. But it had been many years since I'd driven. Over those years I had driven manual here. Like if a friend needed blah, 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 need to drive someone else's car or whatnot, I could drive a manual. So when I bought a manual car years later, I was like, this is fine. I've driven manual sporadically. But the manuals I had always driven were like hard yakka cars.
Right.
Then when I bought my little Ford Fiesta, it was so different. Like the clutch was tight. You know, in a hard yakka car, you're like clutch in, like, you can't.
Squash it down.
Exactly. But then all of a sudden I was driving this tiny little thing where you just touched a pedal and it did stuff. And
I'm you've got to be light on the clutch on those ones.
Yes, and I was like, oh my God. So it did. It took me a minute. And Mr. Loves was like, just do this, just do that. And I was like, you are stressing me out. So I got one of our friends to come for a drive with me. And all it took was one drive with someone who wasn't stressing me out while sitting next to me. And it came back like riding a bike.
Well, I had a 1988 Nissan Pulsar when I started. It was a family car.
I wasn't even born then.
Yeah, well, I wasn't. When I got the license, I wasn't that age. It was, but the car was had a few years on it when I got it. But it was very heavy with no power steering, so you actually built up muscles to it, and the clutch and that was very heavy. But I was known for damaging clutches. I was very heavy on the clutch over the next few years of having different cars. I got the Pulsar Q after that. Ironically, my next car was the same year, 88 Pulsar Q,
oh, really?
But it had the power steering and everything. I bought that here in Alice back in about 2001 or something like that. I swapped my old car over for that. But for me, I was quite heavy on clutches. I was known for that because I'd come in from a really tough car in the beginning. Those Pulsars were like rev heads loved them. I think mine was a 1.6. I went to the 1.8 for the Pulsar Q, so it had a little bit more guts in it. But still, you really, I think that's whatever you learn on is how you become as a driver, I think sometimes. And I'm heavy on brakes, heavy on clutches. So, over the years I've had to spend a little bit of money on fixing up cars.
I mean, I'm just a little
bit of a lead foot. Yeah, you're a lead foot. I'm a bit like that
just
sometimes.
just a little bit of a lead foot. And I'm way better than I used to be. I'm not so bad anymore. But my first car was older than I am too. It was a 1989 Holden Commodore VN.
You had an 89 and I had an 88. There you go.
I had an 89 VN. I wasn't even born to the 90s, but I had an 89 VN, and that was the car that I actually brought here to Alice Springs when I moved here.
Was it a female? Because you know how you like to...
Of course she was.
Yes. And what did you call her?
I can't even remember.
Because you always have names for your cars.
I don't remember now.
I've got a name.
I've got Betty and Chili now. I don't remember. I've blanked. You've put me on the spot. I've blanked on what she was.
Well, let's very quickly before we wrap up.
Oh, she was Beast.
Beast.
She was Beast. Sorry, she was Beast. Oh, do you know what? It just flashed in my head because back when I turned 18 and got the car, a friend of mine got me a key ring that said Beast.
Lovely.
Because a lot of my friends had these cute little Holden Verenas and I got a Holden Commodore VN, so she was a beast.
Yeah, you were definitely a bit of a... I guess we would call you a motorhead. And with Red Set and Nats coming up, are you looking forward to that?
Absolutely love Set
Because I've seen you out at the Speedway.
Yeah, love it.
I just said, I'm trying not to now. You got me thinking it.
Now it hadn't even occurred to me you had
Speedway.
Said it, pointed
Speedway,
it out.
I noticed you love the Speedway.
I do.
Yeah, so you love a good car.
I volunteered a couple of times out there for the canteen and things like that.
Nice. Now, what's on for the weekend?
No idea. Probably nothing.
Are you going to sit in bed?
We'll see.
Read a book?
Maybe.
Are you going to do that Renault you talked about yesterday, knocking down the back tree or whatever you were going to do?
I didn't say I was doing the Renault. I said I need a tree knocked down. I can't do it. It's like a 3-story high tree. That'd be dangerous to me, and it would fall on my house where it's situated.
Just get up there, chop it down. You'll be right.
On that note, we're done.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.